Well, hello, General Hospital Daily Recap fans. Today's daily recap is for Friday, February the 21st, 2025. Friday, February 21st. Well, let's talk about, I'm going to get to Josslyn because that was, kind of truly important because we all know Lucky's going to make it. But anyway, I'll get to him later. Brennan tells her because he goes, okay, I need to get this cleaned up. And Josslyn says, well, wait a minute. Shouldn't we call the police? So Brennan looked at her and he said, if that's what you want to do, we can absolutely call the police, the authorities. We could call them right now. Or we can handle this ourselves. The choice is yours, Josslyn. So she's thinking about it. She's thinking about it. And she goes, um, we can handle it ourselves. So he goes, okay, now are you sure? Because if we handle it, if I handle this, clean this whole thing up, he said, but before he even started talking to her, he said, give me the gun. Because he didn't want no accidental firings, right? Give me the gun. So she gave him the gun. And then he's saying, there's no going back, Josslyn. You can't tell anyone that you were ever here. You can't tell your mother. You can't tell your friends. You can't say that you or I was ever here. Can you live with that? And she thought about it and she goes, I could live with it. I could live with it. So he goes, then okay, let's go. And she said, wait a minute. What about the evidence? What about all my DNA? He goes, I will handle this. We have to go now. So he took her to his office, his headquarters, and he told her, now, everything that you took to that cabin, you're going to have to leave in that bathroom. He says, in that bathroom is another change of clothes. You need to get cleaned up because let's face it, she's got gunshot residue on her, right? You need to get cleaned up and you need to change into those clothes that are in there. Okay. So she looks at him and she goes, oh, okay. So she goes in. Now, Colette, I think that's her name, his number one, comes in. And she said, okay, so what's going on? So he says, Cyrus Renault is dead. And she goes, Renault is dead? And so she goes, how'd that happen? And so he goes, Josslyn killed him. And she looked at him. He says, and you're gonna we need to get that whole place scrub clean. And she says, wait a minute, Jack, she is a young girl. She said young girl, but young lady is what she should have said. She's young. She is not ready for this. She is not going to be able to live with this for the rest of her life. And he goes, it's done. He goes, she took a gun there. He goes, I had no idea she had access to a gun. So she goes, well, he goes, you need to get it cleaned up. She goes, well, we're not going to have a lot of time because Renault tried to kill Elizabeth Weber and injected Lucky Spencer. And he's on the run. The police are searching for him now, or he was supposedly on the run. So Cyrus says, he did what? See, now part of me is like, I mean, they weren't working with Renault, but right. But somehow there's a deeper connection. So Josslyn comes out. She's changed her clothes. She was having some PTSD flashbacks in the bathroom, of killing Renault, which of course she's never killed anybody before. So I guess this is going to be a whole transformation of her character. Now, they remember the rumors she's supposed to be pregnant with Dex's baby. Somehow I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going in a whole different direction with Josslyn. And, I can't say that I'm opposed to it. I can't say. I mean, we'll see. Are they gonna make it interesting? Because see, half the time WSB, they work the good guys, right? It's not like they're the FBI. Well, they ain't the good guys either. But it's not like WSB is a CIA. Oh shoot, they ain't the good guys. Who's the good guys anymore? Right? What anyway, yeah, who are the good guys? So we'll see which way they make her character go. Now, Lucky. While Isaiah said, okay, he's stable, and Laura says, can we visit him? And he goes, yes, you can. So Laura tells Liz and Aiden to go in first. She and Lulu will take next turn. So they go in. Aiden's talking to his father. Liz is talking to Lucky, and then he starts to code again. So Isaiah has to rush in. Portia has to rush in, and um, Elizabeth. Hold on for a second. I'm getting a text, y'all. Elizabeth ushers Aiden out of the room to let the doctors get to work. So of course, Gannon is doing the compressions, and Portia's getting ready to shock him with I think it's AED. And when she yelled clear, they stand back and she zaps him, and oh, it was come on, Lucky, come on, Lucky. And Isaiah is like, don't, Lucky, don't do this to me, don't do this to me, buddy. Oh, so he's not giving up, right? So of course, everybody is worried. Aiden's like, is my dad gonna die? Oh no. Laura and Lulu, everybody's panicking. So Portia comes out with the typical, you know, sorry, y'all, right? That typical. And so Laura's like, is Lucky okay? Aiden's like, is my dad okay? And she goes, Lucky, we brought him back. We got him back. You know, well, stop looking like he died. Lead with a smile on your face. Y'all, we got him back. It was close, but anyway, whatever. We knew Lucky wasn't gonna die. Come on, they didn't bring him back. Plus, he has a 2-year contract. They didn't bring him back, and it was the original Jonathan Lucky, the Lucky, right? It wasn't the stand-in Lucky. I just wished he would have been able to do all the good stuff. That should have been him, but things happen, right? So anyway, now everybody could have a sigh of relief. We have back to Brennan. Let's get back to Brennan. Josslyn comes out of the shower. Colette's going to sweep the place clean. And he goes, have a seat, Josslyn. So she sits down and she says, okay, so is everything done? I mean, he goes, oh, it's being handled right now as we speak. He says, Josslyn, you did well. You surprised me. And she goes, like, wait, did well? And so she says, I was trying to find evidence on, Cyrus to give to the police to prove he killed Dex, because I knew he killed Dex. And so Brennan says, and you found the evidence. And so she said, well, I mean, you helped me. You gave me, he goes, Josslyn, I gave you breadcrumbs because I wanted to see what would you do with it. And she goes, wait a minute. What do you mean you wanted to see what I would do? He goes, I wanted to see how well you would perform. And she's looking and she goes, but you did not know that Cyrus, he goes, no, he goes, this all started when you asked me to get drone footage. She goes, yeah. And you told me there was no drone footage of when Dex got stabbed. So he takes the picture off his desk that he had printed that shows Cyrus holding the shiv, the knife. It was a knife, really. And he gives it to her. And she looks, she goes, wait a minute. You've known all along that Cyrus stabbed Dex? And she said, and you didn't give this information to the police? Why? Now remember, Cyrus got that drone footage not right after Cyrus stabbed Dex. It took Joss probably a month before she asked Jack to see if he could find it, right? She didn't go to him right away because they really didn't know each other. Okay? Um, they really kind of talked at the dinner that Carly invited him to dinner at Christmas. She got to know him better or feel a little more comfortable with him. Okay. So he goes, so she says, wait a minute. Why didn't you give this to the police? He said, because I wanted to see what you would do. And she looked at him and she said, what kind of sick game are you playing? I know you're into my mother, but does this have anything to do with my mother? And he goes, this has nothing to do with Carly. This has everything to do with you, Josslyn. You're special. You see things differently. You're able to search things out. You're able to come up with a plan of action, and you're not afraid to do it. And so she looked at him and she said, but why? Why? He goes, I carefully gave you breadcrumbs and you followed each and every one. And he says, so tell me, Josslyn, why, excuse me, y'all, why did you take a gun to that cabin? She goes, because I had to have it to protect myself. She goes, did you take the gun to kill Cyrus? She said, I took the gun to protect myself. She goes, Cyrus came at me with an axe. He was trying to kill me. And Brennan said, I know. I was outside when it happened. I saw the whole thing. See, Brennan was not going to let Cyrus kill Josslyn. He would have shot Cyrus before Cyrus could have killed Josslyn. Because I'm like, how would this man let her go into that kind of danger by herself? You know what? I was so upset at that, right? Still am, because there's so many variables that could have happened. Okay. But anyway, he goes, but you handled yourself very well. And he says, and then ultimately, Josslyn, why did you make the decision not to involve the police? She said, because I have been going around for months saying how much I hated Cyrus, saying how much I knew Cyrus, telling, the police commissioner, I knew Cyrus was the one who killed Dex, and Cyrus need to be arrested. No one would believe that I shot Cyrus in self-defense when I brought Dex's gun with me. And so Jack looked at her and he goes, okay. Good, good point. And in my mind, I'm thinking, Diane could have got you out, period. Like you said, you bought the gun for self-defense. So he goes, okay, now tell me this, Josslyn. If Cyrus Renault would not have tried to kill you in that cabin, would you have shot him with that gun, finding the evidence that you found? And she looked at Jack and she said, I don't know. And he looked at her, he says, then it's a good thing we didn't involve the authorities in this. Because, look, intent, she would have shot him. I don't know. You would have shot him, girl. Anyway, so he goes, look, she goes, okay, but why me? Why do all this? He said, because you're a good fit. And she goes, a good fit for what? He goes, to join us here at the WSB. I want you to join us and be an agent. And she looked at him and she stood up and she's like, wait a minute. And if I say no, all the evidence, oh, because he has her phone and everything. She said, you gotta leave everything. And I'm trying to figure out why would he have to leave her phone? Well, I guess because of the call log showing she called him at this particular, I guess that leaves too much of a digital trail. So anyway, he says, wait, because you would be a good agent. I was right about you from the first conversation we had. And I'm thinking, no, you couldn't have told that from the first conversation that you had with her, period. Right? So anyway, because Dex was still alive when he first met Josslyn. So anyway, Josslyn stands up and she goes, I don't know. She goes, so all the evidence, if I say no, what? Now all the evidence is it going to reappear? And he goes, no, that's gone. That's handled. He goes, it's your choice. So he took out some money. Here's the story. You lost your phone tonight. You bought yourself a new one. When people asked, you bought yourself a new phone. So she's like, okay. And I'm thinking, must be new number because if you buy a new phone and you got your same number, that call history and everything else is going to import right on there. So must mean, and get a new number, girl, because we don't want them to go through your cell phone and go through the location tracker and find out where you've been. Because, GPS is something else these days, folks, in case you didn't know. GPS tells a whole lot about where you've been. And he goes, here's your car. I had it driven from the cabin. Are you okay to drive home? And she's like, yes. So she leaves. When she leaves, Colette comes back in and says, okay, so what happened with Miss Jax? Do you think, well, he goes, where is she going? He goes, she's going home. He goes, oh, she gets to leave just like that? He goes, just like that. And when she comes back, I want her to believe she's coming back by her own choice. And the way he said it, I'm thinking, okay, we got something like you gonna just what? Program her brain? I mean, see, I don't know. I don't know where this is gonna go. You can't trust Jack Brennan. And now you're kind of starting to see Carly is his Achilles heel because he's not planning on his feelings for Carly to get in the way of the mission. And look, the mission is her daughter, but Carly's going to screw that whole thing up because, oh, that mama bear ain't going to play. She's not going to play. So, anyway, we'll see. And I could see the original Jack Brennan not wanting to play this part of the character. I could see that. I really can. So now let's go to Sasha. Tracy telling her she wants some tea, and Sasha goes, okay, your favorite blend? Tracy says, yes. Sasha gets up, she makes it. And then by the time they come back, Tracy says, so, okay, Sasha, look, I, she just had a funny look on her face. And Sasha says, all right, Tracy, what is it? And she goes, what are you talking about? You got something you want to say. I see it. What is it? And she goes, well, I mean, this is me trying to, be sensitive. She goes, spill it, Tracy. And she said something about, Sasha, it's clear that this baby is more likely a Quartermain. And you're so busy saying you're going to do this on your own. The baby's father is not in the picture. And she goes, if this baby is a Quartermain, Sasha, you're not in this all alone. You're not. We're here. And Sasha says, Tracy, I don't want to get into this with you. I don't. She goes, but I'm just saying that if this baby, once again, is a Quartermain, and so Sasha's like, okay, fine, fine. And she kind of hits her hands on the countertop and she goes, and Jason is walking in from that side, room there, or, hallway from the main rest of the house. He's coming in and Sasha's saying this, Jason is the father. Happy now, and and she goes, now I can't wait for this day. She's turning around, Sasha, to just be over. And she's walking by Jason. And when she says, fine, Jason is the father, Jason is standing there like, hey, we just gonna be saying it like this, right? So, and when Sasha walks by him, she didn't even say like, oops, up. Because she had already told Jason, okay, you need to really come out as being the father. She asked him that in prison, told him, no, we got to protect Michael. You have to. So anyway, Sasha walks out and Tracy looks at Jason. So she goes, okay. So she says something to him and he says, look, Tracy. Oh, Sasha tells Tracy that there's a private investigator looking into Michael. She goes, I believe Willow, her attorney, has hired a PI to get dirt on Michael and dirt on the Quartermains. I just want to let you know. And so she goes, really? Of course they would. Tracy said, good, thanks for the heads up, right? So Tracy says something to Jason. Jason says, look, Tracy, Drew. Oh, because she goes, well, thank goodness you're here. Something about looking after the family or whatever. And he goes, Drew's coming after me. So there's going to be quite a bit of attention. And Tracy said, Drew is actually coming after all of us, Jason. That want to be, or some kind of ingrate Quartermain, she called Drew something. And she goes, Jason, look, Drew can do his best, but he's not a true Quartermain. I mean, he doesn't have Quartermain in him. He wasn't raised with the Quartermain instincts. She goes, you are a true Quartermain. She says, you just turned your back on us, but you're back now. She goes, you know what's required to take care of this family. She goes, Jason, I am glad you're here. And he just kind of looked and she patted him on the back and walked on by. And he just kind of looked like, hmm, well, I guess I'm glad I'm here too. Because he says, I'm here because of Danny. She goes, I know you're here because of Danny, but you have put aside all of your, you know, differences or just indifference to this family for him. She goes, I admire that. And he's like, yeah, my son, right? So anyway, he is the protector of the Quartermain, which is good. Who else could be? So now let's get back to his conversation with mealy, whiny mouth Drew. Jason says, I'm here to make peace with you. And he goes, what do you mean, make peace? That's what Sam, he goes, Sam wanted Scout and Danny to be together. They have not seen each other. I'm here to squash our, they, if we can get along, the children, I mean, they need each other. And Drew had the nerve to say, Scout doesn't need anybody but me. And he goes, so you're just going to disregard Sam's wishes? And Drew was like, yeah, I am Scout's father. And you have turned your back on that family. And I came in trying to hold them together. And I thought, under what multiverse are you living in, Drew? I don't ever remember Drew doing anything of importance but live rent free in the Quartermain house. I have been there. You, who the assassin, they embrace. Me, I find I find and choose the woman I love, and I've done something wrong. And I'm surprised Jason didn't say, see, hold up with that. You didn't find and choose a woman you love. Yes, you pursued and went after your nephew's wife, Drew. Okay? Let's let's call that what it really was. She wasn't a woman you met at Aurora, a woman you met at the gym. She wasn't none of that. She was your nephew's wife. But anyway, just hear Drew how he is noble in him pursuing Willow, a married woman. That's just because those Quartermains, they have done much worse. And it can't get no worse than you. And Jason just looks. And so he says, Scout needs her brother. Scout, she goes, Scout does not, Scout will have Willow and Scout will have Willow's kids. That's all that Scout is going to need. And Jason just looks at him and he goes, so that's how it's going to be. He goes, Jason, see, you, Susan, I wonder, I lay awake and wonder if Susan Moore had a brought me home, how my life would have been so different. Now, mind you, did Drew not hear the whole story? Susan Drunk Moore didn't know she had twins. So how could she, you know, what happened to Drew would have just happened to Jason had Heather picked up a different twin, right? So he goes, I would have embraced the family. I wouldn't have turned my back on him like you have. Here you grew up in the lap of Quartermain luxury, while I got stuck with Betsy, Frankie said Franco's mother, right? Betsy Frank. And I grew up in foster care and I ended up, running away. He goes, my life would have been so different, but no, you, the chosen one. And Jason looked at him. Jason said, I had no control over any of that, Drew. And I thought, Drew should even hear how ridiculously, childishly stupid that sounded. It sounded ridiculous. You got to be picked. Well, he couldn't, whatever, whatever. Okay. I just like, oh my God, they couldn't write him any worse. So he says, so I am Scout's father. She won't, she says those Quartermains will absolutely not be in her life. He says, look, I've got the Quartermain name and I've got the Quartermain money in my bank account. And that's all we're going to need. And I thought, okay, Jason need to make sure that money ends up out that bank account. Mm. Hmm. For one, let's start by taking back what was mine that you spent on Aurora. Let me have Diane work on that. We're gonna reverse that, right? Huh. So anyway, yeah, he's planning on Scout not seeing Danny. But what'll happen is Alexis will make sure they see each other because Alexis is not a Quartermain. But watch, he'll figure out a way that Alexis can't see Scout, and Alexis ain't gonna have that. Because Alexis will have Danny over while Scout's there so they can see each other. Period. Because that's what Sam wanted. Drew. So anyway, I just shook my head with Drew. Now let me see. BLQ. BLQ. Chase was very, very supportive of her. And he told her, he goes, Brook Lynn, you were a child yourself making a decision like that. You were in high school. And she told him everything but who the baby daddy was. And you want to know what? He didn't ask her. I'm surprised. But that conversation will come up. But one thing he knows is she doesn't know if it was a boy or a girl. She never saw her baby. She went on tour with her mother for 5 months, which is how the pregnancy was hidden. And she had her baby while they were on tour. And her mother arranged, for the private adoption. So Chase told her, he goes, Brook Lynn, she goes, are you not mad at me? He goes, how could I be mad at you? Because I lied. I mean, it's my lies that almost cost us to break up before. He goes, Brook Lynn, you didn't lie to me. You just didn't tell me all of your past. He goes, and there's nothing wrong with that. He says, she says, I try not to think about. I've just pushed it. She goes, I compartmentalized me giving up my baby. For years, I keep that in a box over here. And I don't really try to open that because I did have to live with that and go on. And he says, no, I don't fault you. He goes, you made a choice. And you made a choice wanting to give your child a better life. Because she goes, I wanted him to have a better life. Or a life that, I mean, I was a kid. So she goes, and then after I had the baby, I returned right back to my life in high school, right? So anyway, he goes, have you ever thought about looking for your son or your daughter? And she says, I had thought about it briefly. She says, but would it be fair for me to drop into their life at this point? And Chase says, Brook Lynn, any child would be lucky to know you as their mother. He says, if you choose to find your son or your daughter, I will be here to help you. Look. So they were, laying in bed and he was hugging her. So he was very supportive. This actually will probably give him something else to focus on, which is going to, Lois is going to go, wow, oh my God, because that secret's going to come out. But anyway, yeah, I'm happy they're writing it that Chase took it that way. I truly am. Um, so that's it, everybody. Now we have had the most comments ever on Comment Corner. Over, I think, 212 comments on Comment Corner. I'm going to read just a few, probably 7 minutes of them. Let me turn on my trusty dusty. And what I did was this time, because last time was bottom up. This time I just closed my eyes and scrolled my scroller down, 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 opened my eyes and stopped. This is where it stopped. We're going to go for about 7 to 8 minutes, me going from the middle, somewhere in this middle of 200 and something comments down. Okay. Now we have Sportzilla says, GA spoilers lady, you really nailed Cameron Matheson's voice, uh, tapping into Drew's voice with Willow. Um, Willow, he was talking today on today's episode. Yeah, I like having fun with that whispering. Janelle says, plus, that's true. Brennan shouldn't have done that to Josslyn. He shouldn't have. I mean, come on now. Linda says, that's true. How will Josslyn handle killing Cyrus? You notice how Cyrus took a jab at Josslyn while he was still taking his last breath. Yeah, he said, now you're a murderer. That's what he said. She's going to keep playing that in her head. Tanya says Port Charles citizens are making the Port Charles police look bad. Oh, I forgot to say, yes, Anna finally said, find out where Dr. Uh, Gatlin, because Jordan found a lead that somehow Cyrus was connected to some Gatlins. And then there was Austin was Gatlin Holt, in Poltuck. And so it says the doctor and Austin Gatlin Holt owned a number of properties. So Anna said, get the addresses on his properties. So they found the one that was off of that route that Cyrus was going in that direction. And that's where they were headed. She told Dante he could work with her. So when they get there, look, that place was so squeaky clean, you could eat off the floor. But now when Colette told Brennan, you want me to scrub the place completely clean? He said, yes, but with the exception of, and we don't know what he said the exception was. I'm kind of thinking it's not going to be Dex's gun because he had the gun. To me, he should have left the name, the ID bracelets where Josslyn found them. To me, those should have been there because Cyrus cannot just disappear without a trace. Somehow, and Josslyn would want it to come out that he killed Dex. And if all of that, well, Elizabeth, he confessed to Elizabeth. Absolutely. That could be the tie-in. True. That could be the tie-in. I just talked myself through that. So anyway, yeah, Anna hasn't solved nothing. They get there, that place is squeaky clean. Now they're looking around. Okay. She goes, bring forensics in here. Have them search this place from top to bottom. They're going to find now what not Cyrus, what Brennan wants them to find. And we'll find out what that is when it happens, right? Leanne says, now Jack is going to have something else on Carly and her family. New Jack is bad news. I know. I know. Cyrus and those last words are now you're the murderer. We're chilling. Finest Fog says, well, she's no better than Sunny. Now who she hates. Boy, you're gonna carry that weight for a long time. Thanks, Jack. I know. That's gonna be rough. Lucy says the finest Fog says, will everyone know that Joss killed Cyrus or will Jack cover up? Oh, he's covering it up. All we can do is tune in next time. Yep, he's covering it up. Charlotta says that was a terrible word for not going to say to that child. Wait, that was a terrible word for not going to say that to that child. Lucy says to Charlotte, true that. Now, who will be the GH villain? Sarah says Josslyn should have called Jason. I know, but you know what? I'm kind of happy. Jason is truly, he can honestly. Drew's not gonna say he was there because Drew ain't gonna do nothing to help his brother. But like I said, with no evidence that Jason, they can't press charges against Jay and prosecute Jason with no evidence. So JW P says to Lucy, I think they're just dumb, ignorant words. When a serial killer lunges at you with an axe, it's self-defense, not murder, which is what I was saying. When you sneak in disguise into a hospital room to inject people inject poison into defenseless sleeping patients, that's murder. You were 100% right. The fact that she was trespassing does not uh, change her right to self-defense in any way. That's true because let's face it, in reality, did Cyrus own that cabin? Nope. Nope. So it's not like she was breaking into his place, right? Not at all. See, Jack allowed her to dig herself in the hole. The right thing to do was to call the authorities. That was the right thing to do. But look, when has Carly ever done the right thing? Really, let's be real. So Carly Jr., no different. Jack is filth not to call the police. She would have been cleared in no time at all. Yes, she would have. And then Sewing Room says to Lucy Sidwell, and then which I don't get that one. Wendy says, still running game until the last minute. Lucy says to Sewing Room, yes, Sidwell. Well, no, you mean Cyrus, right? And then let's see. We have Joanne says Joss is following in Michael's footsteps. In Michael's footsteps, and she has her fingerprints all over everything. Is Jack going to help her or set her up to take a fall? Because to me, I don't care how good his cleanup crew is. Josslyn was touching everything in that place. They couldn't have possibly gotten all her fingerprints up. Seriously. Wanda says that's the only soap opera that I like, but it seems that the back door of house, it seems that the back door of houses, I know that people come in, that's the front. No one has a front door. Rarely do they ever show Carly's front door. Everybody comes in the back. Um, and then Kamala says, Joss killed him in self-defense. I agree with you. She should have called the police. I guess she panicked, but I hope she will soon. Well, nope, she ain't calling no police, right? She's not calling the police at all. Monique says Drew bought the Shi cult house Shiloh's house. Really? I didn't know that. I didn't notice that at all. Care Bear says they recycle old GH sets. Yeah, they definitely do that. Sarah says to Care Bear, ionic that they closed Shiloh's set for Drew to control Willow. Oh my goodness. That is so true. But if that would have been Shiloh's old house, I mean, they don't want us, that's just, like they said, another set that they're just recycling because Willow would have gotten the chills had Drew driven her up to that house and she would have walked in the front door. Oh, she wouldn't have been able to handle that. So this is something different. Perhaps Drew is Shiloh with the mask, right? So anyway, everybody, I'm already at almost 9 minutes on Comment Corner. Excellent comments, excellent comments. Everybody, you guys did some talking because see, that's right. The soap is really good right now, which is the way GH should be. Now, this is definitely some February sweeps time, but the soap needs to be this good all the time. So, Monday is the first day of Beyond the Gates. So, I will be adding Beyond the Gates to my review. Hopefully, this weekend for you YNR fans, I might do another 15-day review. The Young and the Restless. Look, that so moves so slow, it's ridiculous. But I'll be back Monday with another daily recap of General Hospital.